Recently, I've been getting a lot of questions about my loot filter, ranging from is it public to how did you make it and do you have a video? When I got the question, do you have a video, I truthfully answered it with, no, I don't. And so today this is going to solve that, or at the very least address it for 3.18, as who knows what I'm going to change in the future. Today, I'm going to be talking about my loot filter, how I made it, and why I made it the way that I did. So one really important thing right off the bat. This is not how I would design a loot filter for other people to use. Yes, my filter is public. If you care enough, you can go to my profile on the official site and sign up for it. However, big warning, disclaimer, whatever you want to call it, I customize the filter to my own uses. I turn things on that I want to see, and I turn things off that I don't want to see. So it could be that tomorrow I'll decide that chisels and alchemies aren't worth my time and hide all instances of them. It might be that you're looking to get yellow maps, but I have them hidden since I don't need to see them. It may be that you're not farming with 4 watchstones, but I decided that I'm going to hide every map below tier 14. These are the dangers of using my filter. I make no promises that it will be functional or even that it will stay public, since if I get a lot of complaints, then I'm just going to make it private again. But for the time being, it is public, and if you want to learn a little bit more about how it's set up and how it feels to play with it, I do encourage you to try it temporarily for a couple of maps and use it as inspiration for your own filters. But with that huge disclaimer out of the way, I'm going to talk about how I set it up. Now, to start off with, the basic goal of my filter is that everything, or almost everything which shows up, I want to pick up. I also don't want to pick up more than one inventory full of things in an average map. And I don't really want to make trades for less than 10 chaos each. So, for example, I might be able to sell a Val emblem for 10 chaos, but it would take me a very long time to pick up all of those splinters. So individual Val splinters are not worth my time. Therefore, they're hidden. Whereas a stack of 10 Val splinters is effectively 1 chaos. That is worth my time, so it'll be visible. Because my goal is that I'm going to be picking up everything that shows up on my filter, or very close to it, there's a lot of things that will be hidden. For example, jewelry. I could pick up an ID jewelry. Some of it will be good. I could pick up an ID evasion basis. Some of it will be good, and you can absolutely make money doing that. I'm not saying it's objectively correct to hide all these things. What I'm saying is, these were my goals, and this is how I customized my filter. And so, how did I go about accomplishing this? Well, I went to Filterblade, and I started with Very Strict. Very Strict is what I used on League Start. As I got into red maps, I found that Very Strict was not nearly strict enough. So I set it up to Uber Strict. I tried Uber Strict Plus for a little bit, and not really enough stuff was showing up. I definitely felt like, okay, I wanted to pick this thing up, but my filter was hiding it. So I went to Uber Strict, and from there, I turned off and looked through the tier right below for the uniques, div cards, and currencies, and then I manually re-tiered things, moved some stuff around, and turned off a lot of stuff. And so that was the backbone of my filter. From there, every time picking up or seeing an item annoyed me, I'd just dynamically adjust it. If something annoys me, then I turn it off. And if I say, hey, I really miss picking those up, I could use some, or I think it would be profitable to pick these up, then I'd add it back onto my filter. And long story short, that's how I made my filter. Or at the very least, the functional part. Now I'm also going to get into how I made the aesthetic part, since I think it's the aesthetic a lot of people have been noticing and commenting on. And this is something that I'm very happy about since I spent a lot of time doing it, probably more than I should. But before I do, a quick reminder that if you found this video helpful, maybe it's inspired you to set up your own filter, then please do leave a like, as that really helps me out. For more content, such as my thoughts on Sentinel, my thoughts on Arch Nemesis, or maybe some videos about a completely different game, then you can either sub to the channel and ring the bell, or check out my second channel, 10 Gaming Thoughts. And finally, if you're planning to buy some PoE MTX, then consider using my Nexus. If you do, it won't cost you any more than it normally would, at least if you're paying in US dollars, and a portion of your purchase will go to directly supporting me. But now, let's get back to the video, and back to the aesthetics. Because I didn't want my filter to just be functional. In fact, a lot of the time, I've been very lazy about my filter, since there were so many colors and so many things had unique tiers, and it was just kind of a visual mess. So this time, I wanted to simplify. And there's one color scheme that does a really good job of that, and that's the WoW filter. The WoW filter basically tiers things into 4 different categories. The highest value, which is legendary or orange. The high value, which is purple or epic. The average value, which is magic or blue. And the low quality common stuff, which is green or whatever I forget. It's been a while since I played World of Warcraft, and that's not important. What is important is, you only have 4 things to remember. An orange item you'll go out of your way to pick up. Maybe you'll do something risky, maybe you'll even sacrifice 10% of your EXP. A purple item, you want to pick it up, but it's probably not worth your life. A blue item, you should pick it up. And a green item, I mean, if you're nearby, pick it up. But it's not super important, and if it gets lost in the clutter, or you just don't feel like backtracking, then that's totally fine. And while this is very good at instantly denoting value, it isn't very colorful. I found it to be a little bit too bland when I was running my own experimentation. So from there, I built on top of it. And I built on top of it using Azurite because I really like the blue. To start with, I re-tiered maps. All of my white maps are white. My yellow maps are yellow. And my red maps, well, of course they're green, because why wouldn't they be? No, I'm kidding, they're red. And then I denoted tier 14, 15, and 16 slightly differently, so at a glance I can know what I'm picking up. Now, I'd also really like the color scheme of Azurite, so what I did is I applied it to my filter over the WoW filter. And then I pinned all the different options for the currency, the div cards, and the uniques. Then I swapped it back to WoW. Then I realized that what I should have done is done the swaps and the pinning before I re-tiered my maps, since I had to do that again. So then I re-tiered my maps. And from there, I applied all of the Azurite settings to the currency, divination cards, and uniques. This way, uniques are a bit shinier, since I can often identify whether I want to pick a unique up, both by its color and its base type. Champion Kite Shield? Yep, I'm gonna pick that up. Leather Belt? Well, let me mouse over it. Is it a Headhunter? Yeah, gonna pick that up. It's still 30x. I know, 30x, lowest it's been in a long time. Might make a video on that depending on how the buff goes. But if it's just something like a Worm's Molt or another super common leather belt, then I'm not gonna be giving it a second look. And then for stacks of currency, I just left it on the default WoW tiering. So what this does is you have a really nice mix of aesthetic. The bright blues of a lot of the currencies tend to pop out really nicely from the darker blue of the WoW filter, which the darker blue does make up a majority of the items that drop. The cards add green, the maps add some reds, and of course the uniques add orange. There's a pretty good color balance here, and I know whether or not I can just blindly pick something up, or if I have to look twice at it. To be honest, I could probably leave both the currency and the cards on the WoW filter, since if a card's on my filter, I want to be picking it up, and if currency's on my filter, I want to be picking it up. There should be no situation where I see one of those things, unless maybe it's green, and don't want to pick it up. But again, I found that to be a little boring and a little bland. Everything felt too samey, and so I decided to spice it up a bit. And now, what's the lesson that you can take from this? Can you now customize your own filter and you're good to go? Possibly. One of the big lessons that I think you should take away is generic filters are fine, but you should always customize it for what you want to see and the items that you need. Don't clutter your filter with a bunch of junk just for the sake of seeing things on the floor. If you say, I'm never going to pick this up, but I want it on my filter just in case, take it off your filter. Your filter should absolutely be functional. And in that regard, the stricter your filter, oftentimes the better. It's often a lot better to make a few high-value trades than a lot of little trades, since all those little trades are preventing you from mapping, and that adds up to a surprising amount of lost exalts. Now, of course, if you're an SSF, nothing I just said applied, and you're going to need to show a lot more items. The base concept, though, should still be the same. Show things that you will actively pick up, and hide anything that you won't actively be looking to pick up. As for coloring, it's kind of just personal choice. I would be careful making things too visible if they're not valuable. So I'm okay with red maps being red, since that's a very visible color, and red maps are valuable. But I wouldn't be okay making white maps super visible, since even if you're progressing through them, they're not super valuable and they shouldn't be the first thing you notice. I like that the default for all the WoW filter stuff is a black background with a colored border and colored text, which contrasts very nicely with a lot of my own high-value items from the Azurite filter, which are a white background with blue text. This way, I can tell if something's pretty good, or if it's fucking incredible. Because, let's be honest, You want those incredible things to drop, and you want to be able to see them when you do. And so, I only have one more question for you. If you use any sort of default never sync settings, generally speaking, how strict do you set your filter? Strict, very strict, uber strict, or maybe something else entirely? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to put them down in the comments below, or join the Discord, where you can ask questions, get build help, and hang out with the community. A special thanks to my patrons and YouTube channel members. They're awesome, and they get to show it by having their name on screen in the credits of all my videos. So if you want to see your name here, be sure to check the link in the description. For more general gaming content, check out my second channel, 10 Gaming Thoughts, and if you want a water bottle or a cool shirt, I have a link to my official merch shop in the description. I hope you learned something today, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.